So good morning. Here the sun is rising quickly, but it started late with all the haze. Well, the sun didn't start late, just we couldn't see it, right? I don't think we got this close to these trees for a long time. Because I'm just here beside this wall, so the water is getting lower by the day with all the heat. The level of the lake is dropping. And we've got a big menu today of readings. We could even start with the psalm right now, taste and see how good the Lord is. And we do that also with the awareness of how so many people are in great trouble while we enjoy so many blessings. We think of so many people that are burdened, and yet we will taste and see the goodness of the Lord as we include them in our prayer and our thoughts. And we count our blessings. You can see all that haze there. It's another hot day today. It went down to about 27 degrees Celsius or centigrade last night. So that's actually a super heat wave for Irish summer. To reach 26 degrees or 27 would be amazing. And here it's our low at night time in August. But many years it has been a lot warmer. It's been a lot more intense. We had a wedding here at Ducanaltum, and it was on the 1st of August. I wasn't here, I was doing a promotion trip at the time. Father Juan Solana did the wedding, our first volunteer who got married, and it was, I think, 50 degrees in the shade. 50 degrees Celsius. There's actually the wife and her husband back further, Pastor Bill and Julia from Austin, Texas, of the Lutheran group that are staying here. Julia, come over here and do the reflection on the window. So maybe they'll join us tomorrow for the sunrise stroll and chat. All this bountiful fruit on these date trees. Hey Julie, just wave here because I already said that you're here and your husband is there.
Hello.
So hopefully they'll join. They're going to have a service now with their pilgrims in a few minutes. So they didn't join us this morning. But maybe tomorrow morning, God willing. I look forward to the day when you're all back here and we will have a lot of pilgrims at the sunrise stroll and chat in person, not just virtually. This shore has been also cleaned up a lot. You really haven't seen it too much like this. Most of the time I'm not here doing the sunrise stroll and chat, but First of all, the high water has killed all this vegetation here and opened up the view completely for us. And you can see right across here on the water level, you can see that jet ski again out here. And nature takes its course. So people, today we have very strong messages of scripture, beautiful messages, powerful messages, also deeply challenging messages. We also remember how Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which works through the dough and rises gently. And so we have this very challenging passage of Ephesians for our ears today and our mentality. When we read the text that Paul seems to say that wives should be subject to their husbands. And obviously that's not how Christians see the marriage relationship. They're equal in their marriage relationship. But Paul doesn't try to change in one sweep the social circumstances of the time. Rather, he puts in the leaven that's going to transform the relationships. And it's very powerful because he can't change all of society. We can't either. We can't change all of the human trafficking today. But we can win people to understand human dignity one by one. That's the way it happens, one by one. And he lays down these principles. So in that society, women were subject. They didn't have that much rights. Depending, there were also nuances. We can't overly generalize. But in a very broad stroke of across society, that's the way it was. And Paul asked the husbands to be servants of their wives. Now that is a huge revolutionary statement. And so if the wife is subject to her husband, but the husband now is asked because of Christ to be the servant of his wife, so he can't dominate her. You see the logic? And it's actually not just to be the servant, but to be the servant like Christ, who laid down his life for the church, his spouse. So I think it's not just the society at the time of Paul that needs this. It's our society today that needs it, because we've gone back into very selfish modes about how to read the marriage relationship and how to understand it. And we need a complete renewal in this area. And we will have this renewal when we contemplate Christ in his self-giving for the church, dying on Calvary for the church, forgiving, building up, completely at the service of the church. In fact, the whole mystery of salvation is not done for God to do a big show. It's done for us and for our salvation. And this is a very, very important key to understand all of the mystery of salvation. It's for us and for our salvation. So in that sense, God puts himself in service for us. God comes to redeem us. So that then Paul is saying, now bring that vision into your marriage relationship. This also means that people need to be prepared for marriage in a powerful way, to understand the implications of marriage as a Christian. If we are Christians, if we are following Jesus, then there are major implications for how we see our relationships. And this is hard for all of us. It's hard for me not to get angry. It's hard for me to forgive. It's hard for me not to feel a sense of rejection at times, because also in my limited view, I feel that I was rejected, or I feel that I was put down, or I feel that I wasn't taken into account, and I feel unfairness. So how do I handle that? And I can become very defensive, self-righteous. I can become very just having my perspective on the reality. And to live in a marriage of faithful covenant relationship is quite the challenge then, because it's not just about me. I'm in a covenant of life. And this is what God did with humanity. And this is the good news of the resurrection, the new life coming. And this stump was considered dead, right? And you have this new sprout of life coming. And it's having a great chance here with this sunlight, close to the water, with good soil. And this is where we're planted. And this is actually the promised land. The promised land is not measured in acres and dunhams. It's measured in coming out of our old humanity of selfishness into a relationship with the living God, and relationships among ourselves that are completely renewed, beyond hatreds, beyond, lifted up above divisions, above the clouds. We don't have any clouds today, people. Not a single one. I don't see one anywhere. No clouds anywhere. And we're lifted up by Christ. And then we can flip back to Joshua coming into the promised land. He's there already. They have established themselves. And he says, don't forget what God has done for you. Don't underestimate what God has done for you. Be faithful to God. And this is the big challenge for all of us. And in John's Gospel today, it's also the same challenge. It's not just hostile, critical enemies leave Jesus. It's some of his disciples leave. Because they say, Jesus, your message is too hard. And maybe we could break that down a little bit more for ourselves. That we leave parts of Christ's message. Oh, look what I just found. We talked about it yesterday, and I didn't expect today I would see a flower of the caper plant. The little capers that you eat with fish sometimes, the little bud. And there you see a bud right here to the left of it. And there you see that beautiful flower. It's completely invaded there by, I think it's ants, little ants. And you have the morning glories here as well. And they're also covered by ants. So there's a great invitation today. As for me and my household, I will serve the Lord. This is Joshua. And this is what Peter says. Jesus, to whom shall we go? There's no offer that compares with God, who has become incarnate, who gives us his flesh to eat, who is laying down his life for us. Many walk away, but we don't want to walk away. We've got to know you, Jesus. We just want to stay with you. Where else would we go? Life would be chaos. It's interesting, the words spirit and flesh are used a lot. And that's a huge theme. And we're living in the flesh because we get tired, we're hungry. We're dealing with people in front of us who might be sick in their flesh. They might have cancer, they might have a virus, they might have a flu, they might have an ulcer, they might have all the different possibilities. Lung problems, abscess problems, all kinds of problems. Living in the flesh, and yet living in the flesh with the Spirit. And then marriage is living in the flesh together, but with the Spirit, knowing that each married couple is reflecting that great mystery of Christ and the church. Christ, the spouse of the church, the spouse of Christ, which becomes so concrete with the incarnation. It was already there in the Hebrew scriptures, And now it becomes so concrete with the incarnation, because God has made flesh and lives in the flesh, but led by the Spirit. We are led by the Spirit. We are inspired. We are lifted up by the Spirit. So let your lives today, when you're hungry, when you're tired, when you're rejoicing, when you're ready to dance and exult, be filled with the Spirit. Lift up your hearts. Thank you so much for joining this morning. I hear more footsteps. It's my sister going over to Ducanalton. Celine, we're just finishing. So she's going over for prayer. God bless you. See you later, alligators. There's some smoke back there. We just hope it's agricultural purpose. Today is the first day of the week, so people are out there working. God bless you. Have a blessed Sunday and a wonderful week.